Three. Hello and welcome to our wonderful stream here from Melbourne, Australia with this little baby. Before we start, very important. Anybody wants to buy me a drink? This is it. It's Dram Kiwi. It's beautiful. I only drink it sometimes, but it's a really nice drink to have. Enjoy it when you can. Okay, so I hope you're all safe, and I really hope you stay home and don't go out and get this into this virus business. Just stay home for a while and learn to do things like streaming, basically. I'm using vMix. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a piece of software, and I've got a couple of cameras set up, one on top, which you can probably see now. Okay, this camera here, and then the other camera, which is in front of you right there, two webcams. I've got also another setup with two cameras at the same time and some UI software running in the background. It's quite straightforward, it's easy, and I've set up foot pedals on the floor here so I can change things myself without having to touch anything. So that's me doing all these changes here. Before you take the UI apart, please save everything on a USB stick, export it. So make sure that you have everything there that you need in case you need to load it up to another unit, and do backups in any case everywhere. The other thing, very important, unplug the power. I don't want to see any of you trying to muck around with it while it's plugged in. So please, I know it's obvious, I just need to tell you this. Unplug it from the wall, unplug it from the AC, no cable, far away. So let's start. I've taken the UI here. I've already taken the two sides off. Okay, so I've taken these two sides off, and I think we'll start with the looking at the different connectivity of it from the top straight away here. So basically what we have here is the connection to the input board and power. These are power connectors to the input boards themselves. Okay, so I'll take these apart. I know I'm being a bit rough, but that's okay. I can put it back together easily enough. This is the ARM connection. So this is the 5 volt that goes to the ARM. Okay, disconnect that. And this one is the input board multi-channel audio. So for example, you might have a time where suddenly everything seems to be okay, but some channels are not coming in. You can come in and check, make sure that this connector is connected really strongly into there. So you're making sure that's working properly. Now we go to the other side. Okay. Okay. You want to see the pedals? Ah, Scott says, show me the pedals. Okay. All right, Scott. It's just a MIDI. Can you see this MIDI pedal board? It's just this MIDI pedal board, basically. It's a MIDI pedal board running here. Okay, that's all it is. And you can program vMix to do different things on the MIDI pedals, basically, or you can choose any type of pedal board in reality. Okay, now here we have the connector to the USB-B port. So this is connected directly to the XMOS chip and takes care of the USB-B for you. Okay, so if I unplug that, that's a USB-B connector, so you know. And this is the output, multi-channel output. Not often I've had people come and say, oh, the multi-channel output didn't work, and I tell them, go check this connector. And because this has a big ferrite on it, sometimes it can move away. Now, if you're going to be taking it apart, make sure there is also a small little tie clip on it, which needs to be cut off if you're going to take it apart, or make sure the tie clip is there, because if this moves around a lot, it can create some problems. You make sure that the tie clip is connected really well to the little wire behind it, and this grounding cable that connects to the front board from there. Okay, we can disconnect that here when we're ready to go. And that's obviously the power here. Now, to take this apart, there's a few ways to do so. I like to just unplug these boards here, like so. Okay, and then on the other side, we go here, and basically the same deal. Okay, so unplug these from here, and then you've got the arm connector down here as well. Let's go to the arm connector, and I'll show you what that looks like. The pedal is doing well here. Okay, so basically on the arm board, we have the front panel LED and control, and then we've got the USB-A and USB-A connectors, the two USB-A connectors, top and bottom. So, for example, your USB top A might stop working, and you can't do, second USB port will stop working, and you can't do multi-track recording. Then it might be an idea where you can come. Could be a connector issue or a cable or USB got stuck in it, and you need to do multi-track. You can come inside here and swap these around. So these two connectors then swap around here on the top, the 2A connectors, not the B connector, the 2A connectors, okay? So we have that there. The next thing to be very, very careful when you're taking apart is these connectors to the antenna. I don't know if you can see them clearly there. There's two antenna connectors on the arm board. I've got an arm board here, so I'll show them to you here. So this is the Wi-Fi chip, right? And these are the two antenna connectors. These are called Cypex connectors. When you plug in the little metal connector, you really need to push it hard so it's in place, otherwise it'll flick open and you won't have Wi-Fi. Although if you're using external Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter anymore. I'll come back to the arm board later. So be careful with those. And you can just unplug them. It's very easy to unplug them, as you can see. But to plug them back in is a real hassle. Now, what I do often is I'll just take off these three screws from here and screw from here. Okay. Then I'll do this here. And then I already took off one screw here, another one here. It's easy enough to do. Okay. And then what we can do is basically just push it this way. Just pull this open a little bit. You don't have to take off the handles, all right? Pull this open a bit, and then we've got our two pieces, all right? We've got our two pieces now, which is really easy to see. We'll take it one by one and see how we go. Okay. Right, so here's our main board now, and we'll go back into there, and so you can see it exactly where we are here. Okay, I'll make sure it's underneath the camera nicely for you, and I'll move this here. Yeah. Okay, we've got the ARM board here, as we know. This is the XMOS chip, the one that does the 32 by 32 channels of audio. These are the two Shark DSP processors, the RAM for the Shark DSP processors. This is the Fpga. What this does is does all the interconnection and the retiming between everything. It also takes care of the cascade, and any of the routing, for example, is all done on the Fpga. Power supply section, the AC to DC converter. And remember with the AC to DC that it only has one pole off, so it's really important. The switch only switches one pole, so it's really important to have the right way connected from the AC power. Some people can have issues if their AC is wired the wrong way, or they don't have proper grounding on earthing from that point of view. So we unplug it here if we want to. Okay, so that's it. If you need to change the DC power, you can do that. Some people try to run it off a battery. If they get the right battery level, the 18 volt, they can run a battery. And this is the connector to the fan. Some people ask about the fan, and obviously, as we all know, there is a fan here that could be put if you have heat issues connected to that, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So what is reply? Frank is asking some pedal pick on page. Cool, thank you for that. Don't put limiter to avoid noise. Not sure what that is about. Scott Daniel, it's inside the metal 150 reception. I'm not sure what he's about there, but maybe you can put some more information on the website. Now we're going to take the arm board out. So these little multi-pin connectors, as I said, I'm a little bit more rough than normal because I know what it can handle, but I'm actually very gentle about it because I'm pulling them out straight and not on an angle. And we're going to take off these 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3. I'll need to get a screwdriver for that, because that's not long enough, easy enough to do. So I use a magnetic tip screwdriver, so it's easy. Otherwise you have to fish things out. And obviously use the right size screwdriver, otherwise you'll be in trouble. Okay. So let's talk about the arm board a little bit more. If someone has some heat issues sometimes, okay, please remember to check that the heatsink is on really well, because if it comes off, okay, and it's easy enough to take it off because you just push these in like a normal drive is concerned, and there's little pins here that you push in and then they'll come across, okay. And now if there is not enough silicon on it, then you're not going to get a good connection to the heatsink. And so if it's moving around a bit too much, if you feel it's moving around a bit too much as an oxide, to use what's called a silicon heat transfer compound. It's very easy to find and buy these, okay? These are the Ubic silicon heat compound. And you put the compound on, then you can put, obviously, the arm. So this is a Allwinner H3 processor. It's a quad-core, roughly 1.5 gigahertz we run it at. And that's the SD-RAM for it and the flash memory for it as well here. The Wi-Fi module, as we said, the power supplies, the PMIC, which controls the power for the units there, and the USB transfer. This is for the Ethernet. All the magnetics for the Ethernet are there, and the USB ports. This other USB ports that are there. I don't think there's anything much else about these. They're really well made for what they are, and it's amazing that all of this can be done on a board so small. Obviously, previously nothing like that could be done. Oh, let's go back to our little beautiful board here, our little baby here. So this is the preamp board. This is our lovely preamp board here. Let's take all these off now, just to clarify some clarity here. So between the preamp board and the output board, this is the output board here, and the preamp board and the output board, we've got a little power supply running to it, okay? You can take that off if you want to. Okay, so that's a power supply that's running there. Interconnection into the 2 LEDs from the chipset, and I'll show you where that is in a second. Okay. Now, briefly, what is the most common problems people have been having with UI24 that need to open in case? Okay, I'll tell you in a second, and I think that's in the beginning. The most common people I've seen, the most common problem I've seen is obviously cable interconnection. So that's Miguel is asking about, that's cable. Mainly this output one I've seen a few times because it's quite heavy, and if the unit rattles around a lot, it can move away from the connector, and all that they did is plug that back in and suddenly all their outputs worked again. That's one very common problem I've seen. I've seen people that have had the USB, one of the USB-A damaged because a USB stick got stuck and broken. So they were able, you were able to go in then and swap the 2 USB-A cables, and so you can at least get multi-track running if you had to suddenly do that. I've seen that issue. All the others mainly haven't been cable issues, and I'll go through a couple of other things here in a second. There's the preamp itself. So I've seen, for example, some channels and preamps don't work. A couple of channels, not the one where it's adjacent normally. It's more if 2 or 3 or 4 suddenly didn't work, and it would have been these connectors here, okay? These multi-pin connectors. Some units, maybe the screw came loose or these came out of it. You see, if this comes out somehow by pushing it around, so suddenly you will lose the connection there, and you need to push it back in so that it reconnects it. So that's something to check as well. If you lost a few channels suddenly, you could open just the top. Most of it, you never need to take it apart. It's rare that you need to take it apart entirely. Just the top and bottom, that are there, or sides if you want to call them that way. And you can certainly change things that way. So these connectors, obviously the other one is where a preamp is blown, but that's an op amp or a resistor. I'm not going to go through fixing them in this video, but we will go through what the other bits here are. So there's 3 8-channel A to D converters here, and they're the Cirrus Logic ones. So for channels 1 to 8, and so on and so on, but then they don't go in order, because obviously to build it so you don't have too many interconnections and cabling inside, the channel order is 1, 11, 2, 12, 3, 2, 3, 13. That's why sometimes when you see 2 channels go, they're always adjacent, because they're sharing an op amp. And if one of these channels blew one side of the op amp, the other side won't work either. So that's quite often what the issue is. So they're adjacent to each other. So basically, that's where we're talking about the preamp itself, where the op amps could have been blown. Now let me take that preamp board out. We can check it for you. Just a few screws, easy enough. 1, 2. Let me try multi-view. Why not? Let's try multi-view. Multi-view is Q3. Click on that and click on this. Right, now you can see both. Interesting. Okay. I stepped on the right one, so I set that up to 3, 4, 5. I think that's about it. 5, isn't it? Yeah, 5 exactly. All right, let's take that off for a second and go through connecting that baby up. All right, let's go back to the main one. Yeah, I think so. So that's Q2, and change it nicely. There you go. Okay, so here we go. So we've got all our inputs here, basically post the XLR connectors. One other chip of concern here is the MCU. This MCU controls the preamp levels. It controls the LEDs that are flashing on main, left, right. It controls phantom power. It controls the high Z connection as well. So all these things are controlled internally here. So if that goes, then suddenly nothing will work from that point of view. That's a buffer chip for the clock, to buffer the clock. And all these chips here, they're all switches basically, which switch in the different resistors that are on here to change the gain. So it's quite intelligent from that point of view. It's really analog gain. It's digitally controlled, but it's analog gain. And there's also a circuit in there for the soft clipping on the inputs, which means you can really push the input quite hard before it distorts it. It's pretty cool from that point of view. Okay, I think that's about it for this board. I'm sure there'll be some other questions, and we'll see. I think it will be cool to have a look. Moed Fayed is asking, have you ever encountered firmware problem for V3? Not personally, but what kind of problem? Maybe you can ask the group later on afterwards. You can just put a post up what problems you're having. I don't particularly have a problem with firmware version 3, but certainly if you have some problem, ask for it. Okay, back to our little board here. Let's go here. Right. Okay, so we're back in this baby. Now to take this whole thing apart will be obviously take a bit of time, but I think it's an important factor is to go through this board here, because originally, a long time ago, like 3-4 years ago, when these were released with the XMOS chip, there were some issues whereby suddenly the USB-B didn't work. I don't know if you remember that, but basically USB didn't work suddenly through the system, and because there wasn't enough protection here, and it used to blow the chip. It wasn't actually a Harman fault. It was data sheet problem that XMOS gave us, which was very sad at the time. But anyway, it was fixed and a lot of these were replaced. So if your XMOS chip that does die, you make sure that they've replaced this as well, because it has to have the extra capacitor on board to have the protection. Another issue I've seen with hardware, I didn't need that you might want to check opening. Sometimes people say they lost the left channel or lost the right channel. So basically that's because this board here would have come away from its connector, and so it's quite easy to see if it's away, and you need to make sure that these two screws are screwed in really well. And if you have a scratchy part, scratchy left and right, or headphone doesn't work, suddenly the volume from the headphone doesn't work, this is all to do with this board and this interconnect. I haven't seen a whole board go faulty. Normally possibly a connector that's come apart somehow, maybe someone was really rough. The rest of the board really, so on this one here, there's not really much electronics. These are all connector boards, they're two-layer connector boards as far as that's concerned. And as you can see, there is very little chance for a connector to break. It's the way it's sitting. It's not, can't move left and right here, can't move left and right here. It's soldered straight through, not on an angle. The connectors that are soldered with the angles, they can be an issue as such. So everything is soldered straight through. There's no angle soldering here whatsoever. And that's very important. It means you shouldn't have any issues at all with any of these connectors. And they're Neutrik. They're real Neutrik connectors as far as that's concerned. I've never seen any of these get damaged unless someone really physically abused it. Now, to get this baby out is a bit of a hassle, but we'll try. We'll try. I think that's one thing I would have changed in the design to make easier for this board to come out. But it is what it is, and so we try and get it out in some way. Let's try this one here. Okay, let's try this one here. I mean, this is one way to do it is like this. There's another screw here, but I was smart enough and undid it before, so that one come out. There's one more screw here. There's a normally, just so you know, there's a screw underneath here, but because I've changed the board before, I didn't put it back in. So I was smart. There's another one here underneath. That's a real hassle to get to. What you have to do is unscrew all these. That gives you a little bit of leeway, and then you can get it out. Okay, then you can get that out. So basically what we have here is the USB board. So make sure yours, if you ever need to take it out, has that extra protection chipset on it. So USB A's and USB B, and 3 different connectors, Wi-Fi LED. Okay, Wi-Fi LED, 2 USB A's, and the XMOS. Which for the 32 by 32, and obviously grounding for the board itself. Pretty straightforward. If you need to change these connectors, they're not difficult to change. There's standard connectors that you can buy from Farnell or Element 14 or DigiKey or anything like that. So if you break one of these, it's not such a big deal to change as far as that's concerned. Well, I think, you know, that's about it for taking the whole thing apart. I'll just give you another close-up of this baby here because you didn't see it so close up here. So as you can, that's the board here. If you need to change these connectors, they're quite easy. DigiKey, Element 14, any place like that is quite easy. Wi-Fi LED to the ARM board, USB A's to the ARM board, USB B for the XMOS for 32 by 32 audio. Okay, if there's any questions, send them through. I'll do some more streams about other things. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and keep safe. Take care. Let me see what we can do here. Let's put a UI24 picture up here. Bye for now.